I want to thank everyone for being here, but now it is my pleasure to introduce Matt Jones, Director of Consulting at CGI. A couple of things about him. These are sort of random, but a couple of things about him. He has 21 years of industry experience. He leads a team that's responsible for guiding clients towards industry-leading tech and applications. He's from Birmingham, Alabama. He went to the University of Alabama. He was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. We had a fascinating conversation about this. I asked him if he'd ever been anywhere outside of Birmingham besides Pittsburgh. And as a result, he reminded me that Birmingham, due to their weather, he's able to be almost a year-round outdoors guy. He is a wine snob, a data addict, particularly for the last 7 years, and once he was a gourmet chef, a French gourmet chef's assistant with a specialty around shaving meat. Okay, I want to just tell everyone as a disclaimer, I'm a vegetarian. When he started talking about that, I sort of glossed over it. He has a great sense of humor. I am really excited to hear from him. I'm thrilled that he got out of Alabama to spend time with us here in Pittsburgh, and it is my honor to introduce Matt Jones. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know, microphone, can y'all hear me all right? All right. I may not sound like a Southerner. I may throw some in just so y'all don't forget that I actually am from Alabama.
I want to make sure that's shut off.
All right. One disclaimer, I want to say if my presentation sucks, it's because I'm from Alabama. And if my presentation is awesome, it's because I'm from Alabama. So, right? So, if you've never been to Alabama, we did stop riding the horses to the airport and stuff a little while ago. A few weeks ago, right? I kind of got tired of it, so we're going to the buggy now. Anyways, so thank you all for having me. I am a little bit of a big data junkie, so being able to speak at a greatly titled conference like this was pretty awesome. And so what I decided to do was try to come up with a goofy title just to go with your great title. And so I'm a data guy, not a marketing guy, so give me a break, okay? So the title today is We Are Big Data, Resistance is Futile, okay? And so what we're going to talk about today a little bit is how do we, big data is here, right? It's not going anywhere. I'm going to tell you about it in a minute, how long it's been here. And I'm going to talk about, why has enterprises not made this the enterprise standard platform of choice in analytics? And how do we get there, right? It's only 30 minutes, so I can't give you all the answers, but we'll go from there, right? So we introduced CGI. You did a great job. I'm probably not going to say anything else about CGI. We are in 40 countries. I think you left that one out too. But,
70,000 employees.
so I think that's old, 72. And we've probably acquired somebody else by now, so it's probably 74. So I don't know. But anyways, yeah, don't ever try to keep up with that data. Data quality all the time. All right, so to begin with, let's look at big data, right? Let's look at this history of big data. I'm not going to read all of these to you, but we talk about big data like it's this new thing, right? Since the 90s, we've been using the term big data to talk about the explosion of data in our environment. I know that because I asked Google and they told me, where the term came from, which we still don't know. 2001, we started talking about the V's. Everyone knows the V's, the volume, velocity, variety, and all that. 2006, Hadoop comes out, right? I'm skipping some of these, right? But you see, this is not new technology we're talking about now. This is 10 years old, right? It's not immature. It's not leading edge. We have to think about it like this. A good example was about the whole technology. Big data. Does anybody know the Gartner hype cycle? came on the hype cycle in 2010. 2014 was the last time it was even on it. It had already flown through the entire hype cycle, right? And what did they say? They said, hey, we can't explain why this doesn't fit our methodology. It's just already gone through, and we're going to break it apart, and we're going to start talking about, in 2014, all the things that I can do once big data is in place. My AI, my machine learning, my augmented reality, all of these things are big data driven, right? So what I wanted to say is, you look at all of these things, you look at, Hadoop 2.0, Spark 2.0, Hadoop's 10-year anniversary. Where are you at today? That's my question for, the enterprise companies. So like I said a few minutes ago, when you look at big data, I'm going to stand up here today and tell you, like I said, big data is nothing new, right? It is not leading edge anymore. Stop telling me it's leading edge from IT perspective, from an organizational perspective, because it's 10 years old, right? It's past version 2.0, which was our old marker, never buy 1.0, wait till 2.0 came out. Well, 2.0's out already, right? Okay, and so you look at it and you say, big data's 10 years old. 2.0's already out. I say it's actually even a commodity from a technology perspective in the bigger world, because we're already doing the cool stuff that I can do with advanced analytics as a result of having big data. Augmented reality. How many of you think that augmented reality is anything other than a nice UI on top of big data? Right? That's all it is. It's really cool, right? I read an article last night when I was getting ready to go to sleep. Google, they're out there going, okay, they've built a program that they couldn't find people to build machine learning code. I don't know if y'all saw this, but they've built a program that writes its own machine learning code. And this machine learning code written by the machine learning robots is actually better than the ones written by humans. Okay? It's scored better on its accuracy. So without big data already just being a part of your framework, you can't get there. Does that make sense? Okay, so I want to ask you to ask yourself, where are you? So this is my little checklist that I've seen in the 7 years working with all kinds of companies that say, where's my big data adoption? So we all know it started when the boss said, hey, I want some big data. So check, got that one. The next thing happened when you asked Siri to say, what the heck is big data? Right? Okay, so great, we did that. Then we went and we downloaded a distribution of Hadoop and we deployed it in a lab environment, right? Okay, then we said, let's do proof of concepts. And hey, I'm just as guilty of making y'all do that as everyone else is, because I'm asking you to do proof of concepts, right? Okay, but after that, then we sat around, we said, okay, we have that. Now let's go find that elusive use case. How many of you are stuck looking for the use case for big data right now? Anyone? All right, there we go. Okay, once we did that use case, we said, hey, this was awesome, cool. Let's create a production cluster. Then we create these, 100 node, if we're, cool, right? 100 node is awesome. Clusters, but then we're not doing anything with it. We're still looking for that next use case. Okay, so the question is, how do I get to that next step where I adopt big data technologies as my enterprise standard so I can start to make big data that commodity so I can really go do the cool stuff, right? Because, crunching data, everyone, is cool. I love to crunch data, but that's not the cool stuff that customers want. So how do I get there? So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to just talk a few slides. And these are not fancy McKinsey slides at all. These are Alabama slides, okay? All right, yeah, see? There's no roll tide on there, but that would be awesome. That would be what?
It wouldn't be slides then.
Hey, I don't know. It would be football programs. Anyways, okay. Anyways, so to begin, yes, Alabama fans are cocky no matter where you put us, right? So to begin with, what's the potential, right? People are willing to spend money, right? They have customers out there that are already using advanced machine learning every day, because I see them all over here, right? Machine learning all over the place. Big data all over the place, right? They are expecting you as enterprises to do the same thing. I get it on my phone does this, why can't you do it, right? So what are some of the roadblocks? Well, the roadblocks are really cultural, they are technology, and they're organizational. So first off, and I'm going to go through some of these things, is there's always the culture of, hey, I don't really have big data. There's a statement I hear a lot of times. Or there is, I have these investments that I made, before big data became really cool. And I've spent a lot of money on those, and we're going to use those by God until, the day stops, right? There is process and regulation. I think that regulation and SOX and all the regulations are killing us in terms of flexibility. And so what happened is we got those came out, we built all of our traditional data warehouses, our traditional repositories, and man, our governance processes that consultants like us told you needed are very rigid these days. It takes forever to change anything, okay? So these are some of the challenges. So what I want to talk about is how do I get first? What should we do, right? So to begin with, don't say you don't have big data. When you look at me and you show me the transactional amount of data you have, it might not be super big. But that's not what necessarily drives all of this activity by itself, right? You've got behavioral information. You've got, log data, action data, all kinds of stuff. Pictures, it's the new frontier, right? All kinds of stuff that's really driving up the amount of data that you have, and you've got to do something with it, right? Next thing you have to do, or the first thing, is you got to understand the true nature of what big data really is, okay? It is not about volume, okay? Also, it is not about the 42 V's. I told you in 2001 we had 3. Now we have 42. I don't even know what they all are, but go Google it. There's a nice article on the 42 V's of big data, okay? It is not about technology. I'm as guilty as everyone else because I talked about Hadoop a lot in my timeline. But it is not about technology when it comes to big data. What big data is a mindset. It is understanding that from an analytical perspective, there are 2 faces of analytics today, right? There is the traditional face of analytics where I am all about operationalizing an insight. And I will tell you why I call this traditional, because how many of you built a data warehouse and you went to it and you did your entire approach where you walked up and you said, you tell me the questions you want to answer and I'll go build you something to answer those questions, right? If you don't raise your hand, you're lying, right? I'm sorry, okay? Because that was our process, right? We had a question, we went to find the answer, we mapped a bunch of source systems, we did a whole bunch of ETL, and we built you something. And by the time we answered that question, it was the wrong question, right? Everyone's there, okay. Anyways, what you have to understand that the real value becomes in being able to develop and create an environment where our data scientists and our analysts and our folks that know the business can go and discover new insights about the business and then operationalize it without the 6-month headache of all of our governance processes and our change committees and everything getting in the way of operationalizing that data. Does that make sense? You with me? Right? So, next, embrace technology change. Okay, am I dancing around too much from a camera? No? All right, good. It's my good side. Okay. First, embrace technology change. It is changing. It does change all the time. You cannot think that your yesterday's technology is going to solve all your problems for tomorrow. Makes sense. I mentioned the old belief in waiting till version 2. If you wait to version 2 these days on technology, you may be irrelevant to your customer. right? You have to realize that we live in an open source world today, right? Sorry for all you product companies, I hope I don't offend it, but we live in an open source world. And guess what? The open source world is kind of scary. It happens really fast, and change is just part of it. So embrace that, right? And then finally, you have to understand that, or not finally, but two things. One, it's all about scalability these days, and how quickly can I do something, and how fast do I need to do the answer. And also, you have to understand that one size doesn't fit all. When you get into the big data space, and you have to ask yourself, how quickly do I need the answer? You know, am I scoring some machine learning algorithm in real time, right? What does that particular thing look like in terms of how I do the storage or how I do the processing? Not everything. Does it make sense? You can't answer all the questions with the same piece of equipment, okay? Next, typo, great. Realize you don't have a tool problem. So for fun, one day, I wanted to see how many BI tools are there, right? So this is my methodology that I looked. I said I went out and I counted all 5 of the Gartner Magic Quadrants. And I said, let's just assume that each company on that Magic Quadrant had one tool, okay? And then that came up with 106 different tools for BI. Then I went and said, how many Apache projects out there are there related to BI? That's 65. So at a minimum, you have 171 possible BI tools that you could buy today. And I tell you what, a lot of you probably already bought 125 of them, right? And somebody's calling you tomorrow about buying the next one. It's not a tool problem, okay? It is a process problem. It is a how do I get data to people to discover insights, and how do I get that operationalized, right? I use that word all the time because in Alabama, it took me a long time to learn how to say it, right? I like to use operationalization, and then I even like operationalizationists. So we can talk now. Anyways, so you don't have a tool problem. Pick a few tools. You need a platform, right? You need a data science tool. You need something to make the UI easier for people to put data in, right? But you don't need 5 of them. You don't need one for each department because you're never going to get unified data delivering the value you want if you're integrating 125 different tools all the time. Does that make sense? Next, organize your data for consumption. Okay? Now they're fun. I like to come up with these crazy calculations, right? So I said to myself, how many data elements does a typical enterprise have? Okay, so I made first thing I did, I said, I wonder what's the average number of applications an enterprise company had. So what did I do? I asked Wikipedia, right? Good place to ask. They said 500. I snickered because that's way low for many organizations, right? So I said 500 apps. Let's just assume that each one of those apps had 100 tables in it, and each table had 10 fields. How many fields do I have as an organization? That's 500,000 fields, right? Okay, let's just say that 25% of those are useful, right? That's 125,000. Still, as an end user, how the heck am I going to, or as a data scientist or whoever, how the heck am I going to know what to do with 125,000 pieces of different data, right? So what you have to do is you have to organize your data in your organization for consumption, right? How many people go, forget giving me the data in the data mart, just give me the raw data, right? That's 125,000 fields. Nobody wants that crap, right? Okay, so the first thing is you need the raw data, right? Then I am a big believer in a semantic layer in my big data environment that basically takes my raw data and makes it a whole lot easier to consume, but doesn't change the value of what's in the data because my data scientists are going to be pissed off at me because I ruined their prediction, right? Because they want it raw but flattened, right? And only then, once I find an insight that is valuable, do I think about putting it in a consumption verified vetted layer that I'm actually going to clean, and I'm going to do my master data, and I'm going to set it for consumption to the end folks, right? I've seen a lot of people at a lot of organizations come in and try to put their entire data quality process in front of that raw data, right? Waste of time, folks. Don't do that. There's 125,000 fields. Why clean all of them, right? You mess up their predictability. You change them. Don't do it, right? So organize. Also, more importantly, align your data processes based on this philosophy, right? Having clean data for everything. I just ruined this slide. Great. Anyways, you don't want it at the raw level. You don't really want it at the silver layer. You really want it when it comes to needing to be in a location that people can consume, that your boss always has the right number, right? If I'm just trying to predict something, I don't need it to be 100% accurate. If I'm looking at the trends, do I care if I got the decimal points right? No, right? So you do data quality. Also, you have to look at change management, right? It's got to be different for each one. Security, much higher in terms of, or actually much higher at the lower levels and much more granular at the gold levels. Does that make sense? It's not a one-size-fits-all, right? Too many times people come and look at big data and look at this distinction in the data and think of it as a data warehouse. If I could tell you anything today, don't think of it as your data warehouse, because it's not. Does that make sense? You with me? All right, so it's trying to be funny again. So just remember, once again, if you assimilate the concepts of not saying that or don't say I don't have big data, understanding the nature, embracing technology change, really realizing you don't have a tool problem, and the other things, the collective, being the organization in IT, they might actually call you big data. Does that make sense? Questions?
We have time for any questions or comments?
I got a question.
Can you come up to here? Yeah.
Sure.
And just say who you are.
Hi, Matt.
Hello, how are you?
My name's Eric. I'm from PNC. So question for you about the semantic layer. Who typically owns that? Is that an IT own it, or the data scientists, or how does that work?
So that's a good thing. So this is what I have to say is ITs, if you look at the life cycle of data science, we really break it down into data engineering, data science, and operationalization of insights, right? That's, I don't know if I can go backwards. Anyways, that's bronze layer and that semantic layer. That's all about pushing the data I have as an organization forward, right? It's not about what data do I need for an insight. Does that make sense? You see the distinction? It's anything that I possibly have that data science might can use versus what's the business actually want as a driven insight. So that semantic layer is, so when you say owned, the model, right, is built in a conjunction between the business and IT. It's IT's responsibility to fill that semantic layer, but it's the data science organization's responsibility to determine what goes from that semantic layer to that gold layer and what is valuable. And I actually think that we're going to get to the point where that data science team, because of technology, they have already the ability to operationalize those insights themselves. And so as IT, we really have to get to the point from a governance perspective that we understand how do I enable self-service operationalization. That's coming, right? It's already there in the tools. And so does that answer your question?
Yeah. So my issue is about change management, right? And I don't know how many, do we have any business people here, or is this all technology? So from my perspective, change management sucks. It doesn't go as fast as I need it to, right? So what my question about is more about, you know, the morphing of the data engineers and those responsibilities, like working in tandem with the business teams. If you know what I mean. Like, so we have people on our team who could code. They know how to code Python, SAS, and everything else. So I think there's portions of the operarization that we would want IT to own, and then sections that we'd want to own, because we don't want a 2-week change management because I need a new column, right? Does anybody have that problem? And there's an executive going, I need that for tomorrow's presentation. So
Right.
that was the gist of my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you doing? I'm Travis with Compass Systems. What are some key identifiers when drilling down from raw to semantic layers? Whenever, just something, whenever you're breaking down the raw data, what are, where's the start?
Yeah, so what I look at is, from a semantic layer perspective, I think of more of it as a traditional subject area type approach. To where I've got a customer, I have, a product, I've got an order kind of thing. But think of it as I've got 20 source systems. They all have pieces of that data. I'm trying to flatten that information. Basically, my semantic layer, I'm trying to make it flat and wide so that the consumers don't need to know all the joins, all of the relationships to go get this piece of information. So it's key to understand where that each data element came from, in terms of a source system. And, you have to be able to start building things like understanding your customer. Is this the same customer from here to here to here to here type of scenario? But does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It's just that's a key identifier is, understanding your customer. So.
Yeah, but, you have to start with one. Basically, I think of it as in terms of what does my model look like, and then I start with a source system, and I fit it to the model, then I start another, and it's going to naturally expand as I do that. And I'm trying to not solve it globally at once, but incrementally at a time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Microphone, please. You have a question? Yes, you would come to the mic, please. Last question, right.
Are you going to be around?
I'll be around, yes.
I also can be very loud. When you build a semantic layer, one of the things that we're having trouble with at Duquesne Light is keeping track of the documentation, because people leave, you build things, they disappear. What products do you like besides notes and in a notepad?
Well, you've picked, I like Notepad++ actually, but anyways. I think, I hate to pitch for a certain tool, put me on the spot, right? But, tools like whatever provides your metadata management, I think is a critical place for that to go. Why document something that I can't search and find and provide value back to the organization? So, whether you're using, something in one of the Hadoop distributions, or you're using, a product like Informatica, or whatever your metadata management tool, I think that's the best place. Did that answer your question? I know I didn't come see me afterwards and I'll tell you specific ones. All right? Just not on stage. All right. Thank you.